Us, what are the details?
Apparently, they being television executives and apparently the conferences as well, are trying to find ways to shorten the length of college football games. They are getting increasingly longer. Specifically college football. The NFL, of course, maintains a pretty standard game length that fits perfectly into their 3 windows. College football, not so much. So they're trying to change that. There are 4 proposed clock rule changes that seem like they're all going to get adopted. We shall see. But the first one is the prohibition of consecutive timeouts, meaning no more icing the kicker, or if you call a timeout because you don't like defensive alignment and then you don't like it again, can't call a timeout. Number 2, no untimed down at the end of the first and third quarters. Both of those are pretty rare, so we'll get on to the more important ones. Number 3, clock runs after first downs except inside of 2 minutes at the end of each half. So the clock will run on first down, just like the NFL, except for they will change it inside of 2 minutes. And finally, the clock will run after the ball is spotted after an incomplete pass. So incomplete passes will no longer stop the clock, but for a few seconds for them to put the ball back in its original spot. They think that they can shave dozens, possibly, of plays off of the game by implementing those rules.
You got to remember, these are proposals. These are not rules that are immediately going into effect. I don't think I've got a problem with any of them. But there's a little bit of a reason. I think it causes you to be a smarter football team. It causes you to have to be a smarter football team. It forces you to be more prepared for situational football. I am in awe. AWE, awe. Watching NFL quarterbacks run 2-minute drills. Because the efficiency with which they are able to run end-of-game situational scenarios, usually without the benefit of much in terms of timeouts, and without the clock stopping for a first down, other than to reset, it's incredible. You give an NFL quarterback a minute 15 and say, go get in field goal range, and you're surprised when it doesn't happen. You give a college football team a minute 15 and they need to get into field goal range, and it feels like you're watching a kindergarten fire drill. I adapted it because I'm not sure that you can say the other kind of fire drill that people used to say.
You're right, you can't. But yes.
I don't know that you're allowed to say that
no,
anymore.
Right, you're
so
right.
I went with kindergarten fire drill.
No, you did good. You did good. So, what I'll say is this: the games are too long. I'll give you that. The windows of these games are being in. They're too long. They're not too long because of football. I don't want plays to be shaved off of games, especially plays that could be crucial plays, big plays. The issue is the one thing that nobody's willing to change. It's the ads. There's just too many ad breaks, and they're too long. But nobody is going to raise their hand and go, let's make less money this year. So I get that. What do I always say about college football? There's never enough. Every day is a good day in college football. Mm-hmm. So you're never going to hear me complain. Same thing with baseball, right? I have never been to a football game, looked around and said, man, we have been here forever. Are we ever going to get out of here? I'm always, I'm at the game. And when I'm watching a game, I have never been like, man, this game is just dragging. That's just me. But that's the issue with college football. And Borky, he tweeted something about it earlier. Like, when you have extra point, commercial, kickoff, commercial, and then God forbid on first down we need a replay. You're gonna it's just maddening. That's the issue with college football. That's why the games are so long. But there's no change in that because nobody's going to say, yeah, we can afford to make less money this year.
Exactly. That's I have such a problem with this because if you have a 4-hour football game, to reduce that length of time, they're wanting to take away the one thing we're there for. They're wanting to take away football. The inventory for everything else will remain the same.
Hold on, let me push back on that idea, though. You Borky, are one that tells us all the time that the level of play in the NFL compared to college football is drastically different.
It is.
I mean, there's no question about it. It is. But do you feel like you get less good football when you watch the NFL than because the game's shorter?
But here's the thing. Here's what I was getting to. So you're taking away the one thing that we're there for while not first implementing or figuring out other things that you can reduce without ruining your commercial inventory either. Things like halftime length. What is the NFL halftime? 12 minutes? College is 20, and the clock doesn't start until the teams get fully off the field. I love the bands. I love the bands. It's a great part about college football. They don't need 20 minutes. Reduce halftime.
They don't play 20 minutes.
Yeah. Reduce the length of halftime. Be more efficient with your penalty calls. I mention this with the NFL all the time. If there's a false start, the refs don't have to come together. Flags thrown. A number is communicated to the head ref. He just turns around. False start, 55, 5 yards. They move the ball back. Boom. Set to play. It's faster. The things that aren't the actual football in the NFL move faster. Shorten the halftime. Eliminate the commercial, extra point commercial, kickoff commercial. Find a way to get rid of that.
That doesn't happen very often in
It does on
football.
CBS games.
Oh, it happens on CBS games.
But it's only when they're
lot.
behind on their commercial format.
But that kind of stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. When there is a targeting review, which
it did until just a few years ago, and the NFL made a conscious decision they were getting rid of that commercial break because that was a common piece of the NFL until, 3 or 4 years ago?
And because it was ruining game. Like, when there's a targeting review, instead of sitting there and let Gary Danielson talk over and over about how it should be targeting, fire a commercial break right there. When we come back, the decision's been made, you start football again. Instead, we sit for 5 minutes watching guys look into a monitor, and then after it's decided, fire a break. The second an official announces previous play is under review, go to a commercial break.
Yes. Commercial. I like that. That would help.
Do that with injuries. Guys down injured, fire a break. When you come back, you tell them who the player was and what happened. Yeah. Little things like that they could clean up in college football before they start taking away the football.
It's a really good point about it. There's little that's more maddening than watching a guy go down for an injury. Trainers come out, coaches walk out. They look at him for 30 seconds to a minute, and then as they're starting to pick him up, TV chooses to go to a break.
Yes.
Yeah. Trainer goes onto the field, it ought to be immediate. Commercial break.
You know, I watch a lot of soccer. They don't have ads, man. Put an ad on the scorebug.
Yeah.
How much would somebody pay to have their ad constantly on the screen?
The third quarter is brought to you by C Spire Wireless. Well, they're more than wireless now. They're a little bit of everything, but third quarter is brought to you by C Spire.
Like, if you just had to constantly see Mississippi State X, Texas A&M X, and right next to it is Coca-Cola, I mean, you can't escape it. That's what the Premier League does, and they do it fine.